So this event is targeted to the general aviation community, and it's really aimed at improving the safety within the general aviation space. So there's a number of talks which are happening today. There's also air navigation rally and also some pre-flight inspections to test the competency of aviators.
I just want to bring our mindset back to a level of flying where we're inside this three-dimensional environment. We're not flying above that. As we start rejecting the Earth and we climb through 100 feet, 150 feet, the Earth starts changing from a three-dimensional environment to a two-dimensional environment. That is where everybody else is flying.
Well, I think the message here is really to bring safety to the fore of the thinking of the pilot and of everyone else that is involved in this aviation system. We are faced with so many new technologies, so many demands on our time. People don't spend as much time at the airfield as they used to, so they don't share as much information. They're not in the zone, so to speak, for very long periods at end. So we're trying to bring some of that back to get people to focus on the safety aspects and just to be mindful in the cockpit when it comes to operation of their aircraft and flying of their aircraft. So we're looking at things like flight planning and discussion items around maintenance, weather-related services, how to integrate with the new drone developments that we've seen taken off so rapidly. So our focus now is on education and participation.
What is disclosed becomes quite a skewed view of reality.
In my opinion, ab initio training hasn't kept up with the evolving industry. It's still far too similar to what it was 80, 90 years ago. Its focus on manual flying skills and not the skill set that is often puts us most at risk, which is the non-technical skills, your ability to be situationally aware, to size up your situation that you're facing, to make decisions, to communicate, to manage your own and cope with your own stress levels, fatigue, etc. These are the skills that play an enormous role in accidents. The data is very clear on that. The technology available to a PPL pilot today is at a completely different level to even 20 years ago, perhaps even 10 years ago. I'm fortunate enough to fly a very advanced airplane, the PC-12 NGX. Somebody with a PPL can buy a 4.7-ton airplane that's got an auto-throttle, flight management system, and I can say confidently almost everything that an Airbus A350 has except an auto-land. And yet they must do that with a PPL and perhaps an instrument rating that's done on a first-generation airplane, and now they're going to fly a fourth-generation airplane. You know, to go from big round dials to not just digital, but something that's completely interconnected. How would you know that, for example, you don't even get a warning on takeoff? On about 95% of the warnings that you can get on an airplane like that. I'm not picking on the PC-12. All of these modern aircraft are like this. But when you get to a certain altitude, then it gives you the warning, because it's programmed for phase of flight to only give you what you actually need to know at that time. One of the things I would also like to change is just the name. I mean, what does instructor actually imply? I'm giving you instructions. That's not how we learn, though. That's why I made my point about needing less captains and instructors and more coaches and mentors. Not changing the people, it's just how the people interact with each other, that's all. You want a captain as a mentor. You want an instructor as a coach. You don't learn soccer by somebody kicking the ball and saying, okay, now you're doing it. You have a coach who's helping you kick the ball. And that's key with our manual flying skills. And when it comes to knowledge, it's very similar. You have to discover and come to your own conclusion about something in order to really get the good mental model, the good picture. When I say good, I mean an accurate one. If you're given an instruction and you can repeat someone else's mental model, that doesn't mean you've learned it. It just means you've learned to give the teacher what it is that he or she's asking for. Aviation hasn't changed from the point of view in that we're defying gravity. And there are certain physical laws and laws of interaction that produce an outcome. The fact that we've fallen in love with digital devices and that's the way we prefer to communicate is neither here nor there for aviation. You're still going to die.
The pilot has just got his own RV or he just wants to fly for leisure.
Yeah, you have protection and profit, and I mean you cannot go without the profit part. But what we always try and say, if you think safety is expensive, try an accident. And we've been trying very hard is to have both. You know, have a profitable, safe airline. You won't have an unprofitable, unsafe airline, or not to have a profitable, unsafe airline. It doesn't work. And there's always a balance, and unfortunately, the balance usually favors the profitability part with an economy. And where we are today, to try and get the message across that you're responsible for your safety, that's one part. The other part is what we try and get across as well, that we work in a system, and the people who make the decisions and write the regulations and do everything that we have to comply with, to understand as well that we're just a small cog in the system. And whether that's money driven or not, whether it goes about profit or protection is the safety part, it's a fine balance. And once it balances is skewed, I mean, it cannot be very good or very bad, it's just going to be bad. For a long time we come and talk to general aviation, and I've never been in general aviation. So, you know, yeah, but you flew your aircraft and airlines and stuff. You don't know what really is going on in our world. And I think that's the important part. We have to come sit down and find out what's going on in that world. Well, if we can take this event and then say, okay, we're going to Vonneeboom today, but then we have to get buy-in, and that's where sometimes there's a problem. It's, yeah, the CA. And unfortunately the CA sometimes also says, yeah, but the CA is coming. So they're not coming there to judge you or nothing. And that's why we get dragged in as well. And I think we must get more of the general aviation pilots and instructors, like my son is one, and said, come and join us and come and talk to your people in safety. And we don't have to teach them. They know safety as well. And then also remember the front line. Go and find out really what the problems are there. Maybe we're speaking about mistakes or things and errors that we don't even know about, and go and speak with them and see what do they require. And I think that's the next step.
I think this is a fantastic initiative. That great divide exists of us and them. And until such time that that's bridged, we're in trouble. Yes, the regulator finds itself in a position where the pen is mightier than the sword, whereas the industry, or perhaps our entire existence, is inherently lawless. The establishment of a safety culture starts with me and with you, with my family, school, the community we're in, right up to a national level. And from that, a safety culture will follow in the aviation side. But it requires inputs from both industry and from the regulator.
We have a good turnout, and there's a number of institutions involved in aviation safety. So if an aircraft does come down, we have South African Search and Rescue, a number of other institutions which all play a very vital role. And of course you can see just by the turnout today, very enthusiastic to be part of this, and also very passionate about the role that they play. We think that this is a good start. We're getting the message out there, and hopefully that would, through the grapevine, spread to all aviators. But we'll continually try and get more aviators involved.